Hello, so the Embraer 121 was updated a few days ago, so we're going to take it for a test flight. Not just any old test flight, we're going to really put it through its paces. So you can see I've got a crazy kind of flight plan penciled in here. So we're going to take off from Duxford, fly via some VOR stations along the way. We're going to go to Stapleford, to Elstree, to Wycombe Air Park, to Fairoaks, and then down to Goodwood. So I've gone and bought some of the airfields from Orbex to represent some of this journey, so it should be quite good. So we'll review each airfield along the way as we get to each airfield. Okay, so looking at my old checklist that I wrote up when the Embraer 121 first came out, we're going to work back through it and kind of validate it, I guess, at the same time. So first thing we do in this aeroplane is go into the tablet and turn off the various options like the doors. So we'll also go and switch out the GNS 530 and put the GTN 750 in. So this is the PMS model. So it should be interesting to see how well that works. So overhead we go and turn the battery on, which is here. And we get the immediate warning on the panel, so we'll go and clear that warning. And then go back overhead and turn the inverters on, or converters actually as they are labelled here. And then external lights at the bottom left, nav goes to on, and anti-collision lights to on. Then this on the bottom right, the seatbelt sign goes to on, and no smoking to on. So I'm referring to my notes as I do this, so if you hear any pregnant pauses, I've lost my place in my own instruction list. So control and 5 takes us to the co-pilot position. In the fuel system, so this is the fuel system, we go and turn the auxiliaries on and then the main pumps. So auxiliary goes to on and then to auto. Auxiliary to auto, sorry, and then main pump to on. So auxiliary to auto, main pump to on. Then back overhead, we can start actually starting the engine. So we'll do left engine first. So hit the starter for the left engine. We come down to the cockpit and we monitor the RPM, which as it comes through 12%, we can increase the left fuel condition to idle. So that's this one. So we roll the mouse wheel. Whoops, I've done both. We increase that, and then the RPM should continue on round. At 45%, we can go to high idle. So this is where it gets interesting, because I've had feedback from real-world pilots of aircraft with this engine type. They never use high idle, and they have ended up on the receiving end of all manner of armchair experts arguing with them, saying they're doing it wrong, when, you know, they're professional pilots operating in the real world. But anyway, we're not going to get into that. So back overhead, control on 4, and we turn the generator on the left engine. So generator number 1 goes to on, and then we hit start on the right engine. And again, we can come down into the cockpit and we can monitor the RPM coming up. So as it comes through 12%, we advance to low idle. And then I'm just going to check volume levels while we're waiting for that. So yeah, we're looking good on the volumes. So yeah, as it comes through 45, we can increase this onto high idle. We can also advance the propellers to high RPM. So then control and 4 overhead, we can go and turn on generator number 2. Okay, so then in the aircraft pressurization section over here, AC to on at the bottom right, vent to on, this switch goes to vent, both of these go to open, and that should be good to go. So then control 3, is the pedestal. We set the cabin altitude, so we're just going to go for 2,500 feet today, so we're not really going to need the cabin pressurization system. So then we go back to the cockpit and we uncage the backup attitude indicator. So at the same time we can calibrate the altimeters. So then radio master to on, so that's just below the panel down here. So let's just remove this out of the way for the moment so we can see what we're doing. So then the GPS is now powering up. The weather radar, at the bottom left we can turn the range to standby, which shows us this. Then overhead, the DI section, we can turn the left static pitot to on and the right static pitot to on. So they're in the middle here, so that can go to on, that can go to on. Okay, we're getting there, aren't we? So we can go and set flaps for takeoff. So we're going to taxi down now basically to the runway, but before we do that we're going to sit here while the engines are on, tick over and have a look at the message here. So it's saying we haven't done anything yet, which we know we haven't done anything. So we're going to go and set the origin airport for our flight plan, which if we have a look on here is Duxford EGSU. Enter. Then we're going to go to the Barkway VOR, so BKY. Oh, we need to put a destination in first, so we're going to end up at Goodwood, EGHR. EGHR. Enter. So give it a chance. There it goes. Add an en route waypoint. Is going to be, we'll put the airfields in first, so EGSG. EGSG. Enter. So that should insert it in between. So then we can say, click on this, insert, let's have a quick look. After it we want to go to EGTR, insert after, EGTR, which is Elstree, enter. Then after Elstree we want to go to Wycombe, which is EGTB, so Elstree, insert after, Echo Golf Tango Bravo. And then Fairoaks, EGTF, after Booker. So insert after, EGTF, enter. So in between these we would like to do some VORs. So we'll put the BKY or Barkway VOR after Duxford. So insert after, BKY. It's found some duplicates. There's the Barkway VOR. So then after Stapleford we want to go to Brookman's Park, which is BPK. So insert after, BPK, enter, Brookman's Park. There's Brookman's Park. So then after Elstree we want to go to the Bovingdon VOR, which is BNN. Enter, Bovingdon. So there's Bovingdon to before Booker, and then when we leave Booker we will go via an NDB. I wonder if this got them in its database. So BUR. So insert after, BUR, enter, Burnham, and then between Fairoaks and our destination we're going to go via the Midhurst VOR. So insert after, MID, enter, and there's the Midhurst. So there we go, we've got our flight plan. So we can come back out of here, look at the map now, and it should all make sense. So we can zoom out a little bit and we can see some of the route. Okay. So, transponder. Let's go and turn the transponder on, which I believe is over here. So that needs to go to on. We'll press D to calibrate the HSI if it needs it. It doesn't need it. You never know with different hardware. Oops, we've got a warning. That's probably because I've got the wrong... Yeah, I've got single engine set as the... We want 2 engine, please. Or unless I've got an Embraer. Did I set up an Embraer? Yes, I did. Embraer 121. Apply, go back, resume. So we're in beta at the moment, so we're going to go and set the throttles. There we go. So we should be a bit happier now. So off the parking brake, flaps the takeoff position, and we've lost the engines, which is interesting. So I'm going to... What on earth is going on? So there you go, folks. Be very careful with changing control profiles while the airplane is running, because you will more than likely kill your own engines. So that has gone and pulled the mixture on both engines. Do we get a shortcut in the tablet to get us back to flying condition? I don't think we do. So we're going to have to go and hit the starters again. Let's go and see how we get on with that. So, start right engine. RPM is coming back up through 12. And it's coming back up to speed. And the propeller is starting to spin, which is good. And accelerate it on. Obviously we're not doing all of this in the right order anymore, but needs must. It's a good test actually to see what we can get away with. So we can see the RPMs coming back up again, and the suction is causing the various instruments that require it to now work. So just coming up through 12% there. Introduce fuel and ignite it, and off it goes around the RPM gauge again. So it's complaining about the generators. So go high idle again. So let's go and see about the generators. So generator 1 on. Generator 2 on. We look a bit happier now on the instruments. So that's my bad really for not setting up the controller beforehand. Obviously changing the profile caused the airplane to have a bit of a fit there. Okay, shall we see how we get on? So this is the updated 121, so I really don't know what's going to happen next. So let's make sure the parking brake is now released. And we increase RPM. And we're going forwards. And it doesn't race off like a sports car anymore. It seems to be fixed. So we are at Duxford, so we're going to come down past the static display aircraft. On our way down we can go and check the runway that we're going to be taking off on, which will be runway 06. So as we taxi we'll go and move the heading bug to 60 degrees. Because we'll have a play today with some of the functionality in the cockpit. So we have got an autopilot, we will use it. It's going to be good fun. And here comes the kamikaze van, the first of the day. Obviously we're running in high idle at the moment, which is why we're accelerating so strongly along the taxiway. So we will address that. See, it's been raining around here by the look of it. the strobes on. Try to stay on the taxiway when we're not looking. Put the landing lights on. So it's stuttering quite a lot, but I imagine it's because it's loading all the aircraft models in over there. So just before we go anywhere, did this have an altitude pre-selector for autopilot operations? So it's got DME over here. We probably want to do the course into that VOR. It's only 6 miles away, so we're going to be doubling back on ourselves. So 202 degrees would be the course. So let's go and turn that round. We've got this set to use nav instruments at the moment, so we want to go and tune in the VOR to 11625. So let's go and tune this in. We have to tune this one in, don't we? 11625. And then transfer it straight to live, and then that should come alive. Okay, let's just go and take off first. We'll circle the airfield and then figure out what else we're going to do. I'm just a bit of a mystery here. I guess we just set the altitude on the autopilot itself. So if we go to alt mode, well, we'll figure out when we switch it on. It's a shame it's not in view, so you have to look away from the aeroplane to operate it. So this aeroplane seems a lot better now. So let's go high idle. Got 75% on the engines and pushing them on. I'm just looking at the gauges as I do that. I don't want to overtalk the engines. If we go flat out on the throttles, what happens? Just watching those needles. It's coming up through 110, 120. It's very pitchy. I'd forgotten that about this aeroplane. So very, very fast. Come back to 75%. So if you remember, we need to do a right turn. So we're just coming up towards 1,000 feet. We wanted to get to 2,000. Holding about 1,000 feet a minute. A very steep turn there. We are coming around towards the direction, but we want to obviously intercept the line into the next waypoint. So that will do for the moment. Okay, what I'm going to do to help us out is go into the controls and change the profile on my stick. I actually made a damped profile specifically for this aeroplane. So if we go and look in here, I've got one here. Yeah, it's called damped. Apply, go back, resume. So it just means that there's more of a flattened area in the middle of the stick's travel, which will help us out. So let's go and turn on the autopilot. So we're going to nav mode. Except the heading's wrong now, of course, and it takes ages to get this to correct itself in the simulator. So we're going towards 2,000 feet. It is armed. We can say 500 feet a minute. So let's just make sure it's doing that. Yeah, we've got 500 feet a minute. We're about to intercept the track. There it goes. But has it done it? Heading nav. No, it hasn't. That's probably my fault for just trying to overload it with so many things at once. So let's come off the autopilot. And wait until we're on the next leg, and then we'll give it half a chance of actually completing what we're asking it to do. So we're at 1,500 feet at the moment. Coming in towards the VOR. And obviously we want to be leaving the VOR on 170 degrees, so let's go and get that ready. So there's 170. So if we fly a straight line now until, oh actually where we were turning, that's not really going to help us. Okay. So as we cross over the VOR and leave it, we'll see the HSI come back in. And we've now flown over it. The indicator has gone to the other end, and there we go. We've just gone sweeping over the line. We were almost right on top of it. So now we'll do the opposite and pull ourselves back in towards the line. This is more fun flying by hand, to be honest, isn't it, than using the autopilot, but it's good fun just to see it happen. Okay, so we'll pull this back round to the direction we actually want to be going. And we'll go and try this out again, shall we? So autopilot on, nav mode engaged. We're going to go for 2,000 feet, and to get there we're going to climb at 500 feet a minute. That's happening, but it's leaving. Okay, so what's basically happening here is it's in roll and nav mode, so let's put it in heading and nav mode, so it should capture when we're going to have to capture for it. Basically, it's not clever. So what this should happen here is when we cross over the line, it will capture and straighten up. So let's watch what happens with this. Is it going to do it? Is it turning left yet? Watch the... No, it's not going to. Now, why is that? Is it because of the CDI down here? No, this is on VLOC mode. Okay, so we're just going to go with heading mode for the rest of the flight. And turn off nav mode, because we cannot trust it to capture the VORs for some reason. I don't know why. I'll have to consult the book on that one. I have no doubt done something wrong myself, but we can use this just on heading and altitude mode, which is absolutely fine. So let's go and slow those propellers down a little bit, shall we? Didn't make much difference, did it? So all we're looking to do here is to centre up the track over the ground. Let's have a look at the plane from outside. It's a nice looking plane, isn't it? It's got this kind of wiggle going on that a lot of the small aeroplanes have in the latest updates to the simulator. I'm not sure I like it, but we'll see. So we're almost back on track, so we can straighten up a little bit. Just using the heading bug to do that. So we're coming in towards Stapleford, which I have not seen in the simulator yet. I've just bought it from Orbex, so this is going to be new to me too. So we'll circle the airfield. If we go and look at the wind on the ground at Stapleford, it's 90 degrees 16 knots, so that support's coming in runway 3 right. So I guess we could do a left circuit. We'll fly around the airfield, which absolutely suits us to have a look at it. Also a right circuit. If we did left, we would come down this side and turn in. That might work as well. And then come in runway 3 right. There is a grass runway, which would suit the wind direction better, but we'll try it. We'll try 3 right and see how this airplane goes in a crosswind. So you can see down here, we're coming in towards the airfield. So if we zoom out, you can see the airfield is right there. And we'll see how we get on. I don't like this wiggling. It's very, very off-putting. Does this have any kind of yaw dampers or anything? I don't think it does. And it's such a short fuselage, it probably makes it more susceptible to that as well. So we can use prop sync as well, and we can arm auto feathering. I'm guessing you don't use them on departure or approach. This really is being thrown around with the wind, isn't it? Okay, we're just coming past North Weald Airfield, so if we look out left, you'll see it down here. Don't have a scenery upgrade for North Weald. I do have the scenery upgrade for our next airfield, so it'll be interesting to see what Stapleford looks like. So we may circle it a couple of times, but we want to come in 3 right. So can we see it yet? I guess this is it down here. There's the airfield buildings, there's the airstrip, so it's partly grass, partly asphalt runway. So let's come off the autopilot and pull the power back a little. You see the airspeed is falling off there gently, and we'll start descending as we go. Let's have a look at the airfield. So what we could do is fly straight overhead, then loop around for coming in for the runway approach. What I might do on the next part of the journey is try switching this. It may be this needed to be cycled between GPS and back to nav to get it to work, which I've noticed that bug in several aircraft in the simulator, but we'll try nav mode with the autopilot on the next leg. You know, with GPS. So let's have a look at this airfield from outside. It's really nice, isn't it? It's a very, very short runway to do a touch and go on, but we'll have a go. So let's go back inside. It's got really, really nicely modelled. Some various aircraft parked around the place. How are we doing for speed? Okay, so gear can come down. So we are going to try and approach and just do a touch and go on this short area of hardened runway. It should be good fun. So keep an eye on the airfield out there. So I'm guessing, again I've not consulted the book on this, I'm guessing this has to be back off for approach. So we also want to go and put the RPM back up to max. Get the flaps ready for the approach. Sit up so we can see over the top of the instruments easily and bring this in. Just have a look outside to see what the aeroplane looks like in this configuration. It's quite a short, fat little aeroplane, isn't it? So full flaps. Okay, whoa, we need a whole stack of left rudder there. Missed the trees. Gear up. Okay, so we'll go and arm the auto feather, turn the prop sync back on, pull the powers back to 75%, flaps up, and we're on our way. So we want to turn left 300 degrees. So we're actually heading for the Brookman's Park VOR, which is 117.5. So let's go and tune that in while we're en route. So we click on standby, 11750, transfer that to active, turn this round and it will tell us the direction to fly. Oops, so we've overshot already. Okay. This aeroplane certainly moves around, doesn't it? Although it is quite windy today. So we got the DME is working as well, so it's counting down the miles and it's giving us our speed as well. Slowly rolling left. I imagine that's the wind hitting the tailplane. Yeah, so we've got a crosswind hitting the aeroplane, so it's coming in from the right side, hitting the top of the tailplane and rolling the plane over gently. You can see it doing it now, look. We're banking gently left all the time. Okay, back up to 2,000 feet. And trimming the aeroplane out for level flight. And we're following the track over to Brookman's Park. And then we're going to go down towards Elstree from Brookman's Park. So let's just try this out then. So if we go to GPS mode now, that's changed the CDI automatically over here. So let's go and turn the autopilot back on and say nav mode. Now it's worked, look. On GPS mode it's working. And it's pulling us onto the track by the look of it. well, we'll reserve judgment until we get to the next turn and see what happens. But it certainly didn't work last time. It's paying no attention to heading, obviously, because you don't get heading and nav on. Let's just have a look at the modes to see if we missed anything obvious. I don't think we did. Maybe we just didn't give it enough time to capture before. We were kind of racing through doing things. Now we have... I didn't capture the altitude. I didn't arm the altitude, I should say. So we've just gone vertical speed. So we're going to go to altitude hold before we get too high. And then say we want to come down to 2000. So then if we say come down at... well, we have to... there we go. Won't let us arm it though. Interesting. It's interesting how different aeroplanes program these units in so many different ways, and they all vary. The only one I really trust is the black square version. So we're just coming in to Brookman's Park, and then we should do a left turn. So let's see what happens when this reaches. We can see we're 2 miles out from Brookman's Park. When we reach it, the flight director should go left. We never actually turned the weather radar on, but there's not really much for it to see. We'll turn it on now and see what it sees out in the distance, 10 miles range. So we've just changed, and there goes the flight director. Brilliant. So it is working. So it did it with 1 mile to go until we got to the VOR, and it began the turn. Okay, so now 10 miles down to Elstree. So let's have a close look at the engine gauges when we push the power through. So I'm more interested in where I have the power levers versus torque. So we're not torque limited yet. I've just pushed the power up against the stops. So we are at 100% RPM. And that's with the propeller RPM, or yeah, we're at 100% RPM on the gas turbines, but not on the propellers. So the propellers are pulled back gently. So if we push these all the way forwards, let's see what happens to the propellers. They max out at 100%, they won't go beyond that. The torque is not going into the red. So it appears you can run this flat out, and it's not really going to hurt it. So we may as well do that just to get a bit more speed on. So you can see the speed going here. So we have a maximum speed of 250 knots. Obviously we've got the gear up, we've got the flaps up, we're slick, and we are shifting. So we're coming in 3 miles to go until we get to our next stop, and you can see there's the airfield. So where's the wind coming from? From behind us, so we want runway 08, so we can do the same trick again. So let's pull off the power. We'll circle the airfield a couple of times to have a look at it. This is Elstree. Although we're going to get a good look at it on approach. If I go long this way and come back in into the wind. So we're just descending and decelerating. Let's sit up. Oh no, I was sitting up. How are we doing speed wise? Yeah, we're good to put the undercarriage down. Can't get much closer to the window, which is a shame. Okay, flaps ready for a touch and go. Turn off the auto feather and the prop sync, and we'll do quite a sharp turn in. Putting some power back on. Oh, we stalled momentarily there. And there's the airfield. Let's press F to straighten our view back up. Press space to lift ourselves in the cockpit. Full flaps. Well, obviously gives us more lift and a lot more drag, which will help us slow down. There's quite a lot of turbulence. Slightly off to the right, so we just correct for that on approach. Increase power, and there we go, we're on the centre line. It's a bit twitchy. Increasing power incrementally, and rotate, and we're back up. Flaps can come up. Still got flaps on the first setting, so gear can come up. And our next direction is 297 degrees, so we'll begin our turn. Lift the flaps the rest of the way, keep an eye on the indicated airspeed. We don't want to get too slow while we don't have all of the lift we might have and without the speed we might have. So it'll be interesting to switch on autopilot and see what it does from an unusual situation, but I'm inclined to fly the turn myself and level it out on the intercept course for the next leg. So let's do that. So there we go. Engines back to 50%. Go and arm the auto feather. Switch the prop sync back on. We're almost at 2,000 feet. Let's get autopilot on. Nav mode on. Altitude hold on. So I'm wondering if this is going to intercept and pick up and switch from... Yes, it's got rid of roll mode and it's gone to nav mode now, so it's captured. Or I'm hoping it is, and I'm hoping we're going to see the flight director kick off to the right in a moment to straighten us up onto the track. So as we said earlier, we can go flat out, so I'm going to push the engines on. Although saying that, look, they've gone... Oh no, they're still in the green. And we are going right turn, yep, to establish the course, which is great. Okay, so off to the Bovingdon VOR, then down to Wycombe Air Park. So we'll be looking for runway 06 at Wycombe, I guess. This is good fun. It's a good way to learn an aeroplane, to learn the ins and outs of operating it. We don't really need the tablet anymore, so we can switch it off. So the ground handling has certainly been fixed in this aeroplane. I'm basing my control of auto, feather and prop sync on the conditions of the Banderanti where you shouldn't have them on. Yeah, look, turn off for takeoff and landing for prop sync, and I think it pretty much does the same for the auto feather as well in the Banderanti, and this has the same engines and wings as the Banderanti, which is what I'm basing my view of it on. Okay, so we're just coming over the VOR and turning left, and we're going in towards Wycombe now. So we've got 11 miles to run down to Wycombe. We're doing 190 knots. We're at 2,000 feet. It's all looking good. Hopefully we'll get this journey done before it gets dark. So we have a close look at the GPS down here. Coming in. So coming in the other end of Wycombe, we actually want to... I'm not going to fly the accurate route into Wycombe. It's actually quite involved. There's a noise abatement area you have to avoid if you're doing the circuit coming in from this side. So you would fly over... There's a landmark called the Golden Ball, which is the part of the Hellfire Caves building at West Wycombe, and you would fly then 100 and let me get this right, 220 degrees, 230 degrees over that, then turn left to 150 and then turn left to 60. But you have to fly in between several villages to do it accurately. If you pull it up in Navigraph, there is a diagram of the various routes into Wycombe. It's quite an involved one. It's good fun to learn, just from an academic perspective, and because it's a real world one and it's not straightforward. So I think this is the airfield out here we can see, because there's the industrial estate. Oh, here it is, sorry. There's the industrial estate. So I can show you the basics of it. So there's a building over here. So let's go and get inside the aeroplane. So we'll come off the autopilot. Let's come off the speed a bit. We're going roughly the right direction. So we're looking to fly down over this valley, or down towards the Hambledon Valley, basically, and we can turn in. There's a couple of different routes in. You basically avoid the villages. So if you look, we can't really see it from here very easily. Yeah, there's the waypoint. So we're a little bit off to the right, to the left of where we should be. So there's the house up on the hill here that you use as your way in. So we're a little bit out. So we're just going to cross over to it on the way in. So there's the airfield off to our left. So we're now parallel with the runway. But having flown in that course that takes us over the house, now you can see there's one town here, there's another one further over there. We need to go in between them and then turn left. So let's go and get the gear down, which will help us slow down as well, and we'll be descending as we go. So there's the one town we need to miss. So this is our route through. We're looking for 150 degrees, which we're now more or less on. There's the other town we need to miss. So it's threading a needle basically through a noise abatement area. And we're coming down, Wycombe's about 500 feet above ground level, so we're looking to get to 1,000 feet by the time we turn for the runway. So let's get the flaps down now as well. Enough to see this, and then we turn in about 1,000 feet, so that's just coming up. We're doing quite well. We're a little bit high. So let's press F. The only reason I know the routine around here so well is that I've recorded a couple of videos at Wycombe. It's just down the road from where I live, so I've kind of concentrated on learning it, and because it was such an interesting route in, it made it interesting, if that makes sense. So we're just coming in. We've still got the sync and the auto feather on, so go full power again, lift flaps to take off, hold the centre line, and rotate, gear up, look at that turbulence chucking us around. Okay, let's level out, get some speed, and then get the flaps up. And then the next leg is going to be 138 degrees, so we'll begin that turn as we do this. In reality, we're actually supposed to turn left and avoid Wycombe, or we're turning over the top of the industrial estate in Wycombe, which is not something you would do in the real world. So 170 did we say, or thereabouts. So let's go and lift the flaps now, turn this auto feather on, turn the prop sync back on, turn the autopilot back on, go nav mode, and hopefully it will capture. We're about to go and cross over the track, and it has done. We're at 2,500 feet, which is not where we wanted to be, but doesn't really matter. So we could say 2,500, and hopefully it will stabilise us out at that altitude. Okay, so it's just turning left. Yep, we've captured the track, and we're on our way to the Burnham non-directional beacon. Obviously we're doing it via GPS though, not via radio, otherwise we'd have the ADF out. Has this got an ADF? Just looking around the cockpit, where I'm not sure it does. Someone's going to scream at me now that it's right under my nose. So the rowing lake you can see we're about to pass over is where the Olympic athletes train. It's Dorney. And yeah, so we're going to pass in between Maidenhead and Slough and then head down towards Fairoaks. So Fairoaks is another airfield I've got custom scenery for now, which I've never seen before, so we'll circle it and have a look at it. as we come in. So looking at Fairoaks, wind there is 50 degrees 13 knots on the ground. So it's going to be runway 06, but we'll figure that out when we get there. Okay, so off our left you can see Slough. So if anybody's seen the UK version of The Office, this is where it's based. An industrial estate in Slough. John Betjeman wrote the famous poem, "Come friendly bombs and fall on Slough, it isn't fit for humans now." So it's not as bad as the poem makes out at all. It's just a busy suburb on the outside of London. So you can see over there this Heathrow Airport. It's absolutely gigantic. So we're keeping a respectful distance from Heathrow. He says that, but I'm actually crossing over the ILS. So we're not obeying the restrictions around it. We should probably have been staying well over here, over Bracknell and Wokingham, to stay away from Heathrow. But we're going straight for Fairoaks, so we'll see how we get on. Just out of interest, where is the sector restrictions? Oh my word, yes, we're well inside it. We shouldn't be here, really. So, on our way to Fairoaks. So you can see on the mark here, 6 miles to go, just under. Just out of interest, what elevation is Fairoaks? Does it tell us? 80 feet. Okay, good to know. Just to give us an indication of how much we need to descend. So we'll do the same as before and do turn right, turn right and then do left turns into runway 06. So I believe we can see it ahead of us now. So if we scoot forwards in the cockpit and zoom in, it hasn't drawn it in just yet. Well, I'm guessing this is the airfield anyway. Yeah, it looks like it is starting to add detail as we get closer. There's ground assets being loaded in, isn't there? It's yeah, it's improving in quality as we get closer. So we're going to do a turn and pull the power off. So remember, we need to come in runway 06, so we want to be going 240 degrees on the heading. So we're just turning towards 240. And we're slow enough now to put the gear down, which will increase the drag. Take the auto feather arming off, we'll remember it this time, and the prop sync. So let's see if we can see that airfield behind us now. Yeah, there it is. So we'll do a left turn in a moment. So flaps to first position, so we don't stall in the turn. And there's the runway. Plenty of time now to sort the aeroplane out. So we're just looking at the lights alongside the runway there. One white, one red is good. If we get two whites, we're too high. If we get two reds, we're too low. There's a lot of turbulence. So pulling the power back, going full flaps. We're going too high. But we're visual now anyway. Okay, so full throttle, flaps back to takeoff position, and rotate. And we're back in the air, gear up. And say goodbye to Fairoaks. So we want to do a right turn to 188 degrees. So let's begin that right turn as we climb out. This is the McLaren Technology Centre, where the Formula One team, or McLaren themselves, are based. It's a very distinctive shaped building. So it flaps up. Okay, straighten up. Put the autopilot back on. Put nav mode on. We are at 20, coming up for 2,500 feet. So it's straightening itself out at 2,500 feet, which is good. And flight director's kicked in to straighten us up on the track. So we're now on our way to the Midhurst VOR and then down to our destination, our final destination at Goodwood. Let's say goodbye to area. Look at this, a huge disused airfield over there. I wonder where that is. It's obviously one of the wartime airfields. Could figure it out from the map, couldn't we? So about, it's over here somewhere. Is it Cobham? Or is it Brooklyn? Oh, it'd be Brooklands, won't it? Okay, so off our way to the Midhurst VOR on autopilot, racing along at 2,500 feet. And what speed's the airplane doing? Just about 190 knots. We can go and rearm the auto feathering, turn on the prop sync while we're in cruise. So it does appear you can just push the throttles up against the limits and it doesn't harm it, which is kind of stunning really. But then I think it was this aeroplane that they said is not study level, so you know you can get away with just running it flat out everywhere. Good fun though. Okay, so we've got 8 miles to run until the Midhurst VOR, and then we're running in towards Goodwood. So what runways do we get to choose from at Goodwood, and what's the wind doing? So it's 30 degrees, 15 knots. So it's coming in from this sort of direction. So we're looking at runway 06. It's quite windy, so it's going to be interesting. but I think we may circle it. You'll notice there's a racetrack running outside of Goodwood, and you will see racing cars lapping the track. So again, this is a custom scenery of Goodwood that I have installed. So we're just coming in towards Midhurst still. 6 miles to run. Let's have a look from outside. The wind is kicking us around a fair bit, isn't it? How are we doing on the route? So we've got 1 and a bit miles to go to the turn, so you'll see the colour flick over and the HSI will reflect the next leg any moment. So within a mile it will go. Okay, HSI has reacted first, and there we go, the GPS has now reacted. That's interesting. So we have 12 miles to run to our destination at Goodwood. Let's have a look around the aeroplane while we're en route. It's really nicely modelled, isn't it? Or I think it is. I'm not sure that we can open this while we're in flight. I'm not going to try it. It always makes me laugh when you look at these cockpits, how awkward it must be for the pilots to climb over the pedestal to get into the their seating position. And I presume there's going to be handles up here to grab, or not, as the case may be. You'd think they might have an easy... Oh, there is a handle, look, a giant one here, for them to grab onto as they shift their weight over. Very good. Okay, how are we doing? We've got 8 miles to run until we get to Goodwood, so we can see it out in the distance. It's quite an involved airfield. There's a racetrack running outside of it. And lots of grass airstrips. So if we can have another look at the map as we run in towards Goodwood, you'll see the airstrips are all within the boundary inside the racetrack. So we're going to go in for runway 06, but we may circle it first just to have a look at it. So when we get a little bit closer, I will descend and we'll go to the outside view so we can enjoy taking a look at Goodwood before we line up for an approach. So let's come off the autopilot. Let's start slowing down. So 3 miles to run. So this is the area down here. When we get a little bit closer, it'll become much more obvious. There's various markings in nearby fields where the pit crews often go for the racetrack. When you'll see the markings in the fields where, you know, where their mobile homes and service vehicles have been parked for race weekends, leaving kind of shadows in the grass. Most of it's over here, parking for the track. So you can see there's the pit straight. So we'll do a couple of laps around just to see it. There's a race car just coming around this corner down here. Not sure if it will record nicely on the internet or not. So you can see him just coming along here. There's usually a couple of cars doing laps. Oh, the sim's just frozen, so we'll just give it a moment. There we go. And it's frozen again, and there we go, there's a race car down there, look. Going around the track. There's a lot of aeroplanes down here. Interestingly, I'm getting two sets of numbers showing up. Whether that's a glitch in the scenery, I'm not sure. So here's the start-finish straight with the flags. Can't quite see them from here, but I don't want to get too much closer with this aeroplane. There's a chicane. You can see a car going through the chicane now. It's kind of a bit like watching Scalextric cars. So there's runway 06. So we're just going to, yeah, there's a bit of a glitch in the scenery at the moment. It looks like it's doubled up. Gear down. So there's the runway we're going to land on. Then we'll be able to taxi in and see some of the pit area after we come in. So we're a bit fast, so we're just going to side slip to remove some speed. And altitude at the same time. A lot of turbulence. Remember we said the wind was quite strong over here, so it's obviously hitting these trees and kicking us around. So let's straighten the view up. Whoa, that draft there really nearly caught us. Are we actually down yet? I guess we are, but it was so soft on the grass, didn't feel it. It may be that I have to remove the existing scenery for the airfield in order for the bespoke version to work properly. So if we go and park up in front of the hangar over here, or even in the hangar, I'm not sure what my wingspan is. I think I'll stop here. Would we have fitted? Ooh, it would have been a very tight squeeze, wouldn't it? So let's go and cut the engines back. And turn everything off. So is it control 4 to look overhead? Yes, it is. So the lights can all come off. The vents can all be closed. I think we're pretty good to go. There we go. There's not a lot to switch off in this aeroplane, to be honest. Obviously we're going to get... The world and its dog is going to complain now about the configuration, but that's fine. So batteries can come off. And we're cold and dark. So then the tablet, I think, allows us to open the doors. So we can go put the chocks back in, put the main doors, open the baggage doors. And you can see, there we go. So now we've seen that, we're going to jump in the air with the drone camera and go and have a look at Goodwood, because it looks quite wonderful. And it's got the pit complex. It's a historic racetrack, so you can see like the 1920s styling of the buildings. There's lots and lots to this airfield. There's various pieces of scenery in here that are massively overdone really, but it's quite entertaining to go nosing around. There's like a museum here, the Goodwood Aerodrome Museum. Obviously the Spitfires are based here, so you can see the one, I think it's the Flying Iron Spitfire that you can get in Flight Simulator, is actually based here. So there it is, sat in the hangar. There's obviously the two-seater as well, where you can go and do a flight in a Spitfire. It costs several £1,000s, but people rave about it. There's some very interesting aeroplanes around here. Obviously lots of hangars with lots of different sorts of aeroplanes and helicopters in them. So yeah, I'm not going to get into too much detail, but there you go. We finish at Goodwood today. Right, I'm going to leave it there. Hopefully you enjoyed today's flight. And that was a bit better look at the Embraer, the 121. Now it's been updated, so yeah, taxiing was not an issue now. Approach and departure were very much more straightforward. Now the engines seem to have been tweaked, the physics has been tweaked. It was easy to fly. The one thing that I didn't quite understand, obviously I need to go and have a look at, is we couldn't get it to capture navigation, radio navigation masts, but you know, GPS worked fine, so we had a good fallback. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Hopefully you enjoyed that, and I'll see you again soon.